Welcome to Conversations With. My name is Shaley Hoogendoorn, and I live with bipolar 2 disorder. Sharing with others is healing, both individually and collectively. Sharing our stories will educate others, bring more understanding, shed more light, and smash more stigma. Our voices need to be heard. Our stories aren't over yet. This is bipolar. Hi everyone, welcome back to This Is Bipolar. I am your host, Shaley Hoogendoorn. I am a mom, I am a teacher, and I live with bipolar 2 disorder. I am a fierce mental health advocate, and I'm really excited about our guest today. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody that I have a peer support group. I don't know about you, but when I was diagnosed, I just wanted to see a face or hear a voice of someone else that was managing and lived with bipolar and lived well. And so that's why we started the podcast. And I have this peer support group, and it's through Instagram subscriptions. So if you subscribe on there, you get access. We have our own private chat, and there's people from all over the world. So chances are, if you're awake, someone's awake. And we just relate to each other, and we meet once a month all together on Zoom and just share. And sometimes we talk about tips, and sometimes we just share our symptoms. And I am telling you, it is the most healing space for me. And so go to Instagram and you can sign up for subscriptions or message me if it is something that you can't figure out. But I just wanted to get started today because I have been following our guest for a very long time on Instagram and just watching the beautiful work that she does in the world. And so today I have Dailyn Santana, and I am going to let her introduce herself.
Hello. Hello, this is Bipolar audience. Thank you so much, Shaley, for having me. I'm Dailyn Santana. I am an Americana Cubana, Cuban-American, spoken word poet, actress, writer, and I like to call myself a love-fluencer as well, because everything I do, I want to make sure that whether it is in the mental health advocacy space, in the poetry space, acting, or, writing my poems, I am making sure that I'm always going back to light. I live with bipolar 1 disorder, and it has been a long journey for me to be able to say that with a lot of pride and also know that I'm healing at the same time. With every time I share my story, it gets easier. So that is who I am. I also am a mental health motivational speaker. I speak in schools and universities across the country, and it is my favorite thing to do. So thank you so much for having me and sharing space with me today.
Of course, of course. You've already got me a little teary. I love influencer. I can't even. That's so good. I love that so much. Well, I am really excited because I've followed your poems and I've followed you online, and just the beauty and the care that you put out there, but I don't know your whole story. And so I would absolutely love to take it back. And I'm wondering, when you first noticed, or did you notice that something wasn't quite right, or you were feeling different than others? I would love to hear about that.
Yes, thank you for that question. The first time I think I felt different was in 6th grade. I really loved school. I was in middle school and I was in a really wonderful school in Elizabeth, New Jersey. That is where I was born and raised. And I started to feel like I didn't want to go to class. And now as an adult, I'm able to recognize what that is, right? But as a 6th grader, you're like, wait a second, why don't I want to go to school and hang out with all my friends? We are all here having a great time in school every day. I love to learn. And in school, I remember this one day, it was just like a random Tuesday, and I lied to my mother. It was one of the first lies I ever told. And I said, Mom, I'm sick. I'm not well. I don't want to go to school today, or I can't go to school today, rather. And I remember being like, there's something wrong here. So that was the first time I felt different. It was the first time I felt like there was something wrong. And now, again, as an adult, I know that what triggers my bipolar disorder or depression or anxiety, I put quotation marks because there are a lot of labels, and I want to honor them all.
Yes.
I want to honor all of the trigger warnings. I want to honor all the labels. And I say that with a lot of honor and respect. But as an adult now, as a 34-year-old, looking back at my 6-year-old self, I'm like, oh man, it really wasn't so much that I didn't want to go to school. It was injustice. And
Mm,
bipolar is what, when I feel bipolar, when I feel manic or sad or depressed, it's when there's injustice present. And so to answer your question, it was in 6th grade when I realized, oh wow, there's something going on in the home here and it's not good. So
mm,
I don't want to go to school today. I want to take a mental health day. Of course, as a 6-year-old, I wasn't saying that out loud. I
yeah.
wasn't like, hey, mom, just so
Yeah.
you know, I know we're having problems at home. Can you do me a favor? Can we just take a quick mental health day? You don't go to work, I don't go to school, and like we'll just hang out. That's not what happened at all. It was, mom, I think I have a fever and I'm not feeling
Mm,
well. And so I went and I got the lamp. I put it near my forehead. I put like, some water,
oh,
splashed it on me and was like, I'm sick. That's the answer to your question. That's what happened.
yeah. No, I see that. I see that, and I hear you. I am 46, and yeah, I would have never said that, but I have felt the same way. I do have a little bit of just a little bit of hope there just for my children and future children, because now my kids would ask for that and their kids would. So when I'm at my lowest, I hold on to that things slowly shift, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to, just for the people listening, if I have young listeners out there, I'm just so proud of everybody that can say the things that we couldn't say when we were younger. So
Oh,
bring me along in that journey. How did things go for you? Did your symptoms increase or did it just pop back up when you were older? I'd love to hear how that went.
yes, they didn't very much increase in the way that my family could recognize. Growing up in an urban neighborhood, Elizabeth, New Jersey, mental health is not something that was spoken about. There was a lot of stigma still, in Latino communities, still in where I lived. So there was a lot of suppression on my end, I would say.
Mm.
And during that time, I remember going back to school when my mom came from work, everything was fine, and putting kind of like a mask, like, okay, I'm sick, okay, no, everything's okay, no, everything's okay, because as a person living with bipolar 1, there's a deep feeling sense in me. So if there's something not right in the home, or if there's something not right in society in a general sense, I feel that very deeply, and I am very much aware of my surroundings.
Hmm.
So I remember as it popped up during 6th grade, then it'd be 8th grade, and I'd be like, "Hey, mom, I think I'm sick again. I don't wish to go to school today." It's something that just gradually kept popping up in high
Yeah.
school as well. In college is when I had my first manic episode, and that was when everything kind of like bubbled up to the surface, where it
Yeah.
was mania, psychosis, hospitalization, and all of that.
So before you had your manic episode, what did it feel like in your body when you were saying to your mom, I can't go to school today or this? I'm just that mind body connection. I think that sometimes with me, it's a whole body experience. So I'm curious if you were aware or remember how that felt.
I do remember everything, which is the biggest blessing, you
Mhm.
know, having being a deep feeler and having this memory can be a gift and a curse, but I
Yes.
choose to view it as a gift. And what I remember, to answer your question, is feeling very low, feeling like I can't, for some reason, I can't do these things that most normal, and I put quotations again with respect,
Yeah.
normal folks can't do,
Yeah.
or can do rather,
Yeah.
like most people can get up and go to school, and most people can just roll with the punches, and this is good, and we can just keep going. And my 6-year-old self, 8th grade-year-old self, 9th grade-year-old self, those days, for some reason, the visible signs were in my mind, but they were also in my mind body, as you said. I was just very depleted. I was very, the word in Spanish is animar, to animate yourself. I was the opposite. I was deflated. I had deflated self-esteem. I had deflated, depressed thoughts that were of the ideology that I didn't belong for some reason.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that so deeply. And in the hardest part is that time period is so hard for like a neurotypical kid, right? And having that extra feeling part, I think it's hard for like parents or people around you to even think that it's different. It's like, oh, preteen, oh, teenager, right? And my parents only, I was the only girl, and then three brothers. They were just like, oh, she's a drama queen, right? And
Oh,
they meant well, but I didn't fit in, and they were always like, just calm down. I was like, do you not think I could calm down if I could? Right?
yeah.
So how did your family, were you the biggest feeler in your family? Were you like me, where you felt like everyone else could just like get it together and you just couldn't show up in that way?
Well, I am very much like my father. He is
Mm.
a very deep feeler, very passionate person. And my mother is a saint, really. She really is the kindest person. But where she could have done better was not babied me in that moment. But
Oh,
she didn't know better. We were living in a society back then, and we are of Latino descent, where there is a phrase in Spanish that says la ropa sucia se lava en casa, which means your dirty laundry should be aired at home, right?
oh,
You
yeah.
shouldn't get help for your mental health struggles, right? In that vein. So, you know, although I am like my father, who can get angry quickly too, who is a deep feeler too, who is having a lot of injustice happening to him, along with my mother having a lot of injustice happening to her, and I also have a wonderful sister, 14 months older than I, who was a very strong person, was like, you know what? If you're going to be the feeler, I'm going to be the one that is going to be
Ah,
the family, right? So we all had our specific roles that we had to play. And my role was, okay, I'm going to feel everything and I'm going to be the glue that holds us together for some reason. And that was my little brain thinking that, you know,
yeah,
feeling that deeply. And it was just a lot of stuff happening. Also, me trying to see the bright side of it all as well, you know?
yeah.
So there's a lot of that kind of movement, that mind body thing as well happening.
I've
Well,
actually been learning a lot in the past few years about family systems. It's really, really interesting. I don't want to rabbit trail, but I know you speak bipolar, so I, I can go this way and that way, and I know you'll understand. But just learning how, because sometimes I wonder when I go back to my hometown, I'm like, I fall back into acting like I did when I was 16, and we fall into these roles. And every time I go, I'm like, I have done therapy. I have done, like why can't I show up as this person that sought healing when I get in those grooves? So it's actually a really interesting thing that starts really young.
it's
Yeah.
crazy to look back on it too. It's
Yeah.
crazy to look back on it and be like, oh, that actually happened.
Yeah.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and like we
Oh,
don't,
I
it's
didn't do
not
that.
on purpose, but we like get assigned roles. And I can even see it within like with my girls and in my family. And I try to be like, you don't have to be, you don't always have to do this. And I can see themselves just soaking in that role. And as they're becoming young adults, I'm like, just remember, you can be anything or all. You don't have to stick to that role. So that was really powerful and interesting. So I don't know about you, but when I wasn't down in high school, I was like the life of the party. I didn't realize it was hypomania at the time, but I was the life of the party. That's when I always got a boyfriend. That was, like I was fun. People just really gravitated towards me. Did you experience any of that in high school or going into college?
Oh, yeah. I've got poems about it for days.
Awesome.
I really do. So yes, I was. I was very popular in high school. I loved school from sixth grade to middle school, high school, even college, prior to the manic episode and even a little bit after. I
Yeah.
love people in general. I think people are fascinating and they very much give me a lot of information on how to be humble, how to be
Mm.
strong, how to be cool, how to be myself, even when I don't feel myself. You know,
Yeah.
they give me a lot of inspiration. But in school, like in high school, oh, absolutely. I got life of the party. My yearbook is hilarious in the best way.
Yeah, yeah,
It-
yeah.
I love my yearbook. It's like best dressed and, you know, life of the party, best dancer, all these things. And I'm just like, wow. And you didn't even make You just made me realize that maybe that could have been that then. I'm not really sure. I loved school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard too, and I've just stopped doing it, but trying to pull it apart because I actually my baseline is actually, I am quite gregarious. I am a people person. All those personality tests, it's like extrovert to the nth degree. Even when I'm unwell, I still seek people, right? And so do you find like I find that so hard? I used to try and be like, what is hypomania? What is symptoms? Who am I truly? And I found that doing that actually made me sicker because I couldn't understand, and I'd get in that existential, well, who even am I kind of
Yeah.
space, and that's not a good space for me. I would love to just walk into leading up to your manic episode. It sounds like it was the trigger to your diagnosis.
Yes, the manic episode in 2011 was one of the worst things to happen to our family in the sense of what you were just saying. Who am I? Who is Day? What's going on with Day? Not just for me, but for my sister, excuse me, my mother, my father, and then, of course, my extended family. I very much acknowledge that there are people living with this illness that do not have friends or family that struggle. And I'm very privileged that I do have my family that cares so much about me. And so when the manic episode happened, all of my friends, my cousins, and my family were like, what is going on? Day is acting out of character. So I was 19. I was a student at Kean University in Union, New Jersey, and I really wanted to study theater. And I was studying theater a bit there. And for some reason, I was understanding the world a little bit differently than
Mm,
others. Everything was happening at a faster pace.
mm,
And as I mentioned, my family is of Latino descent. My parents were both born in Cuba. And I started to understand the communism that's happening in that country and has happened in that country. I've understood the injustices, and it was a light bulb moment of like, oh wow, Day, this reality that you're living in is for real for so many people, and you are so blessed, but there are dualities in the world. Like the word bipolar means bipolar, right? And
yeah,
so duality is a word that I play with a lot now, but when I was manic in 2011, everything happened so
yeah,
fast. And I couldn't make a sense of evil in the world. I couldn't make sense of it for others. I couldn't make sense of it for any reason, and had a manic episode. I reached psychosis. I was hospitalized in Newark Beth Israel Hospital. And I do remember my sister was talking about it recently, that an uncle came for me and he broke down crying, and I was in a stretcher, and I was just like, just kind of, the word is going crazy, right? I was going crazy, or people like to call it that. And he was like, get her out of there, get her out of there. And thank goodness for him, because I was detained. I was mortified. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is terrifying. And I was just like, can I just have a pen and paper? And I
oh,
just, I just began to write poems. And it was extremely difficult. I was very young. One of the things that hurts me with injustices with folks that live with bipolar, including myself, is the lack of empathy. And still to this day, I think about it like, whoa, I can't believe we went through that. We actually, as a family, went through that, and we tried our damnedest to find therapists that spoke Spanish that could relate
yeah,
to us. You know what I
yeah,
mean? We're
yeah.
just like, listen, there's something happening to Dailyn. There's something happening with mental health. We don't know what's going on. I had an aunt, luckily, who was very smart intellectually and was like, Day's actually having a manic episode. These are symptoms of bipolar. We got to get her to the hospital. And I count my lucky stars every day that I'm alive because of these wonderful people who were part of my family who understood. And it was so hard to find a therapist who could speak our language in a literal sense, and our love languages, and or just any type of language that we're just like, can you give us some facts and information on
Yeah,
why my daughter, my sister is struggling right now?
yeah.
The grandiose thinking of my family was out to get me was the biggest lie of all, because I
Mm.
knew that my family's the mess.
It's
They come
complicated.
It's complicated. La cosa está complicada a veces, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, when my sister, I said I didn't want to see her, that's when it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for her,
Yeah.
because she began to send emails and videos or photos like, this is our life, this is our actual relationship, like this is who we are, this is who you are, don't forget who
Mhm.
you are.
Yeah.
And when she sent that, I was like, oh, love is really the language. Like, okay, I may have this diagnosis. So that was 2011. I genuinely was like, what are you talking about, doc? Like, there's something wrong with my brain.
Yeah.
I'm 19 and now you're telling me that I'm gonna have to live as a crazy person forever. Like, that's how my 19-year-old
Yeah.
self
Of course.
functionalized this, right? I was like, I have to take medicine. I'm crazy. I'm 19. I'm gonna lose all my friends. I'm gonna lose everything. I'm everything. It felt that big, because
Yeah.
when you're in high school and college and those years, everything feels like the world's biggest or worst or best thing, because it's just how our brains are.
Yeah.
Our brains aren't fully developed. We're children, we're
Yeah.
teens, especially women, like our brains develop quicker than boys, but my brain wasn't fully developed. So
Yeah.
I was like, my life is over.
I get messages all the time. I think because we're more aware as a society about bipolar disorder. So I'm grateful that people are getting diagnosed young. And also, you hold those two things, it's terrible because I was diagnosed at 32. And I think because I have hypomania, it's not as obvious, right? It was just like, oh, she's really hyper. Oh, she's getting things done. Oh, look how creative she is. Oh, it's like, yeah, I'm not sleeping, right? Or I would convince anybody to give me like any job, even if I wasn't qualified. But I sometimes, and I try not to, I give myself time. I'm like, okay, for this half an hour, you get to mourn. I mourn those years that I didn't know and that I every year had that deep, deep depression. So it's none of it is good. There's not like later diagnosis is good, younger, but I am grateful for that because when you know, you can do things, right? Whereas I didn't know. I was raising littles. Like when I got diagnosed, they were 2 and 4. I was just, yeah, I knew that my life wasn't over, but I was scared of different things. I'm like, what if they take my kids? What if I can't do this? What if it was terrifying? And I was used to anxiety and depression, but I felt like the big B word, the bipolar, they kind of say it's severe or it's the one people understand less. And so it took me a long time to say the word bipolar. It really did. I'm just thinking, my heart is going out to your 19-year-old self. I'm curious because the most questions I get ever is, what does mania feel like? What happened? What could I look for if I get ones about my partner. My partner is acting completely out of character in these ways. I'm curious about like what that felt like, what kind of things you were doing. You said that you got like paranoid that your family was against you. And I just try and tell people that it doesn't feel like a choice for me when I'm hypomanic. Like my brain, like it's almost like an order to do things. Like this is what you need to do, right? And I'm curious about like how you felt.
It felt like I had to get everything done in that day. And if I didn't, I just, there was no, I didn't. I had to. I felt like
Yeah.
God. And I hate that word
Yeah.
sometimes. I hate
Yeah.
saying, I hate saying the grandiose thoughts. I hate saying what happened sometimes. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
This shame sometimes still lives in my brain. Every time I speak, it gets easier. So I will say that. It felt like the order of things it just had to happen. It just had to happen. And
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping, back
Yep.
then.
Yep.
It was really, really rough. I remember listening to music over and over and over and over again, just blasting music
Mhm.
as my 19-year-old self,
Yeah.
and being like feeling unstoppable
Yep.
in a naive way, you
Yep.
know. Now as a 34-year-old, I'm like, okay, I can listen to music, and then if there's a moment where I need to stop, because I'm like, okay, Day, this is too much. I have more self-control.
Yeah.
Back then I had zero self-control and I was alone, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because I felt like my family, I was writing a script about the story of my life and everything bubbled up to the surface, all of the things I had suppressed since sixth grade, you
Yeah.
know? So being able to express it, being unable to express it then, when it finally came to the surface at 19, it came to the
Yeah.
surface in a crazy way. It came to
Yeah.
the surface in the way of like applying for everything, all the music videos, everything. And back then there was social media just different though. There wasn't
Yeah.
as much stimuli as there is now, which I have
Yeah.
to be very, very careful now. But back then, the stimuli was here. It was just
Mm. Hmm.
continuous. And my brain just wouldn't stop. The racing thoughts, the not sleeping, the thinking that I could be, the most powerful version of myself at any given moment, just
Yeah.
nonstop anxiety, nonstop racing thoughts, and just go, go, go. That was
Yeah.
the biggest thing then, to be able to like pinpoint it. And I know that mania is supposed to be, or not supposed to be, but defined as like a 2-week period.
Yeah.
As no one knew what was happening with me, it was almost 2 months for me. So I was not sleeping. So imagine what that does to someone's brain.
Huh.
My brain is being fried at a consistent basis for almost 2 months. Then I was finally hospitalized. And that's when I reached the diagnosis. They were like, you have bipolar 1 disorder. What you just had was a manic episode, and we are going to sedate you. And I remember waking up and I went back to my parents' apartment in New Jersey, and I was in such shock, Shaley, that I could not speak. Like I literally was like, I did what? I didn't remember. I had no memory
Yeah.
of what I said or did. And so when my friends stayed over, some of them slept over at my parents' house, they were very worried. And once I remembered from their accounts, them saying,
Yeah.
Day, hey, you did this, you said this. I remember being like, okay, no, that was not me. And then
Yeah.
had to come to terms with that was me, but it was a different version of myself. And I remember just being at such shock with what I said. And the crazy thing is that it wasn't even shit that was unkind,
Right.
but it still hurt because
Uh,
it affected the people that I loved.
yeah.
And that's what messed me up. And I
Yeah.
remember being like, oh my God, I can't believe I said or did that. I'm so sorry. And it just like robbed my voice. It just took my
Mm.
ability to speak. I couldn't speak for 3 days.
Wow.
And I just stayed in bed so depressed. I was just like sleeping. I barely showered. And I just, my grandmother was there. I remember I had a boyfriend at the time. And I was just like, I have to just sit with this for a
Yeah.
minute. So for 3 days. And then I finally spoke again with poetry.
Oh, thank goodness. I just felt it in my body when you were talking, that urgency, and I just, when people would question me, I just felt like, well, they just don't know. Like I'm special. Like I kind of, and it sounds wild to say like the secret of the universe, but I felt like everything I was doing was like life changing, and I hear you. So I don't get full blown mania, but when I went to emergency, I was like on the edge of that. Like I hadn't slept either. And it just felt like if I didn't do these things that, it would just be catastrophic. So I had to do them. And I don't know about you. You said your things were like you weren't unkind. And I wasn't like unkind, but I was very irritable to the people closest to me, right? Like I'm doing this project. Like, don't tell me to go to bed. I don't have time to eat. Like, this is life-changing work. Don't you get it? Like, don't like stop. I can't. I'm like working on this or this or this. And yeah, that's just really, really hard to explain. I always talk about, because as we know, it's incurable. So I still have episodes managed way, way more muted. But even to now, I call it the apology tour after I'm hypomanic, especially to the people closest around me, because I'm snippy and I'm a little, luckily, there was like this beautiful protected mama thing that it didn't come out to my children, but my partner my mom, right? I was very irritable with them. And I carry a lot of shame about that because I'm not an angry person. So when this comes up, it's just like, and like half an hour later, I'm not even mad about it, but I've made such a huge deal about it. And then I'm a woman, right? Like, so I'm not only am I an angry person, which is looked down on. Women aren't supposed to be angry. They're supposed to make things comfortable or whatever. So I'm like this angry woman. And then some of the things like you, I clearly don't experience the same things as you, but when I see other injustices and I just feel so passionate about it. I'm like making signs and do you know what I mean? I get so and I look around and I'm like I remember sitting in a restaurant once and looking around. I'm like, how can people just be sitting here and eating when the world is on fire? Like, how dare you guys just go on with life? Yeah, it's just the most intense feeling and so hard to explain. And I also hear you about like hurting other people. Like, for example, if we had diabetes or heart disease or something like that, it upsets. And of course, it affects the family around us, but it's different than how I feel like it's like me as a person and my personality that's affected. But it's actually like my anger is a symptom. So not only is it terrible, I'm supposed to be able to control it. Whereas diabetes, if my blood sugar was off, it wouldn't be like my fault. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, Shaley. That makes perfect sense to me. I think when I say like the unkind thing, I think there's a shame in that, you know? Of course there's the irritability. I forget about that piece
I know.
sometimes. It's hard, especially that 2011 first
Yeah.
manic episode. I was so irritable. I was so irritable because I was like, I'm writing a play or whatever I was doing. And it hurt my family. It hurt them because they had no clue what was happening. They
Yeah.
had no clue. They had
Yeah.
no idea what the symptoms and the comorbidities and the words
Yeah.
that now you and I know well, right? And if there's two types of diabetes. There's the type that it's hereditary, and then there's the type that if you eat a ton of sugar, it'll come, you know what I mean? Like there's that
Yeah.
self-inflicted kind. I remember feeling very irritable, and I remember I'm going through a kind of a breakup-ish right now. And whenever there's heartbreak, I think that I can be a little irritable to be around
Yeah.
because I'm very much obvious in my behaviors of sadness,
Oh, yeah.
super unapologetically human. I'm very unapologetically myself. And also, when I'm struggling, want to make sure that I'm just being as candid as possible.
Yeah.
I was like, I had my period. I'm on my
Yeah.
period now. And on my second day, I still had to work. And, I
Mm,
saw my friend who I saw the other day, and I was just like, girl, I'm on my period, and I don't
yeah.
know. Sometimes I worry about how my truth translates, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like we worry about, I'm like, was that anxious? Was that bipolar? And it's like, no, Day, you're on your period. It's
Yeah.
okay to say you're on your period.
Yeah.
I think it goes back a little bit about what you said with the women being dramatic piece. You know,
Right.
so sometimes we say something and it's like we're perceived as like, oh, she's loca, oh, she's crazy, oh, she's
Yeah.
dramatic. No, I'm on the second day of my period, but because I have a history of, the trauma of what happened with my manic episode, sometimes I'm like, I really hope that came across. Okay. It's that shame that sometimes trickles sometimes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, I can
Very
relate
much.
so hard. I spend, I feel like my core wound is being misunderstood. And so I feel like I'm always trying to, I almost make it worse and more like noticeable behavior that is actually situational that anyone else would be feeling, but it's amplified. And so I feel like, in the moment I'm fine, I say whatever, but then I'll go home and I'll be like, oh my gosh, or I'll be so anxious that like my friend's going to break up with me because I was so over the top, or I talked over them a lot, or things like that. And I feel like I'm really working on like apologizing when I've done something wrong, but not apologizing for like existing. and feeling. Like I feel like I'm apologizing and then I'm apologizing for apologizing. And then sometimes it's like, no, those are like you said with your period, or if I've had like something happen, they're like, yeah, I would feel somewhat like that too. And then it's hard to explain to people that it's like amplified, right? Because with again the example of diabetes, if you told someone, they believe like they believe, oh, exactly, because they've never had those symptoms before. So they wouldn't kind of write it off as, oh, I felt like that too. And I'm like, really want people to understand, like, yes, you have, but probably not to the nth degree, right? Like it's just so dramatic. And so, yeah, I'm really working on the self stigma part about that I'm too much.
Ooh, self-stigma. That's a good one. That's a
Right.
good one.
Right. Yeah. I've brought on a co host for a bunch of episodes lately. Her name is Dr. Andrea. Shout out. She lives with bipolar and she studies it. So she has her doctorate in psychology and she's like does legit research and is writing a book on self-stigma. Yeah, it's unbelievable because I didn't even realize that we have like societal stigma, right? And then it's on top of what's been ingrained in us. And I'm
Yes.
like, am I apologizing to other people for who I am, or am I like apologizing to myself? I don't know. I'm trying to work that out.
I love that. There is a book called The Signs of Shame that says,
Mm,
shame says the difference between guilt and shame is guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says I am a mistake. And when I think of self-stigma, that is what I think of. I feel like sometimes in the past, when I think of, my past manic episode, I feel like, oh my God, I was a mistake then.
mhm.
And that is a very self-stigma can be very real for
Yeah.
folks living with bipolar one. Again, I don't like to speak for other people, but for
Yeah.
myself in the past, I know that there has been that self-stigma that has come out and really felt like I've had to apologize for being alive during that time.
Yeah.
And it is a blessing to be able to say that I'm just being real.
Like if we could go back, I'm working on in therapy right now. Like if I could go back instead of thinking like, oh, what did I do that I embarrassed my family? Da, da, da. If I could go back, like say it was you and I saw this going back, I would go back and be like, just want to hug Dailyn and put her in a blanket fort and just be like that. But I can't do that for myself. Or I'm trying to, I'm learning to. So I've got this like picture of little me on my mirror and I'm trying so hard to almost like show up for myself like I would others. It's hard.
Oof, yes. It's really hard. That's a compassion piece. One of the kindest things anyone has ever done for me was when I was taking Depakote. The doctor said that I wouldn't be able to have my own baby because it would be born without a spinal cord. I was living in Long Island with my ex. I remember I was doing the dishes and I told my family that news that, I'm not going to be able to have my own children. And they were obviously devastated. But my sister said, hey, if you want to have kids, I can have them for you. Like I can bear your children. Yes. Yes.
Whoa.
Hmm. And practicing that level of compassion, that level of empathy for someone, you never know what anyone is going through. And mental illness is so rampant all around the world. And practicing that level of compassion that you were just saying to everybody. Like
Yeah.
one of the backgrounds on my phone is a picture of me. I try to look at her and be like, you're doing great, girl. We are not trying, we are doing. And we've been through some things, but aren't we here today? We are
Yeah.
here today, girl. Like we got this,
Yeah.
but that level of kindness and compassion towards myself when I feel self-stigma or giving it to other people, I feel like as a person living with mental health struggles, like that helped me exponentially. It helps me see the world through a different lens.
Sometimes I think if I didn't live with bipolar disorder, that I don't think I would be as kind and compassionate. I mean, I hope I would, but even though there's the side of carrying other people's pain and just walking in a room and feeling like feeling all the feelings, I stand up for a lot of things. Like I'm always the one, if everybody feels like there's some wrong thing happening or some kind of injustice, it's like they all talk. And then I'm like, I have to be the one that says something. And I do see that it has made me a caring, gathering person. And I think that the most healing part was showing up in the messy middle. I find that so many stories get wrapped in a bow, and I just don't relate to that toxic positivity. And I think if I didn't have it, maybe I would be a bow wrapper and not messy and beautiful and all the things. And I think that you do that too. You show up just as you are, and that really inspires me.
Thank you for saying that. And thank you for also saying the part about giving it back. I would do the same thing. You
Yeah.
know, if someone was like, here is a magical pill that you can take, well, I'd probably be like, I will take the one that makes me feel
Yeah.
a little bit normal sometimes. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm very much the one that will solve that problem. And at the same time, solving problems is very hard.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there is the messiness there that is involved. There is the showing up. There's the being
Mhm.
confident. There is all of the competence. And
Yeah.
sometimes I struggle with confidence. I'm still learning confidence. I say that because I was a sick child growing up. I had a lot of fevers, and that's another long story. My family history, and essentially my mom's side of the family were just very jealous of my mom, my dad's beautiful, loving relationship. But the point is, I would get very, very high fevers. And so I'm not sure if you are familiar with like Cuban brujeria.
No,
It's
tell me.
it's like black magic. It's bad things that people put on myself and my family. And so because I was the youngest, they saw me as the weakest. And
Mm.
one of the things, as a big feeler, when my kindness is taken as a weakness, that hurts. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
yes.
The
And
world doesn't value some of the things that we have to offer.
oof, yes. I tried a lot, growing up with the confidence piece of like reckoning with that.
Yeah.
Like, how could somebody do that to my family? How could somebody do that to my mom and dad? And it's like, well, the world isn't nice. And we do live in a cruel world sometimes. And for some reason, this is your existence. You came on this planet to experience all of this, and you got to take it. You got to roll with the punches. But also, we have to feel these feelings and parent our inner child. It's a big one. I'm
Big.
not sure if that's something that you can relate to, like having confidence after
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened to you when you were diagnosed at 32?
Oh yeah, for sure. It rocked who I was to the core. And it's so interesting because I feel like this connection with you is that people would not think that we struggle with confidence because I am here with a mic. I put myself together. You are speaking in front of crowds. I've done public speaking. And so people are like, nah, but I struggle hugely with it. And also I just feel like I can't not. Do you feel similar?
Yes. What else? What other option do I have, Shaley?
Right,
Like,
right.
what other option do I have other than showing up and saying the truth of what's on my heart all the
Yeah,
time? If not, the alternative, I think, is to be depressed. The alternative is
yeah,
to be sad all the time. And I can be sad for sure,
yeah,
but I can't let sadness overpower my life on a daily basis, because then I will get absolutely nothing done. If
yeah,
I have a to-do list that has 10 things and maybe I only got 7 things done that day because I was a little sad, whatever the situation is, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
I make sure that I am continuously growing and
yeah,
also acknowledging what I need to acknowledge to heal.
yeah, yeah. Tell me the road to poetry and showing up and writing poetry about your actual like, mental health experiences. I would love to hear all about that.
So when I had my manic episode in 2011, I needed to write. I didn't have a voice. And
Mhm.
so I first made two promises to myself. I said I would never, in the time that couldn't speak, I said, I'm never going to talk about what happened to me. I'm
Mhm.
never going to admit that mental health is even a thing. I don't even want to talk. I don't want to hear the words mental health.
Yep.
And I would never write poetry or raps again because I was like, we're done. We're done with music. We're done with poetry. We're done with acting. We're done with all the things. And I kept that promise for 7, 8 years,
Wow.
and I said to myself, we're not doing this. But of course, when things are suppressed, they must come to the surface. So I was very, very depressed. I was borderline suicidal. I
Yeah.
sometimes don't like to say that because I always knew I wasn't going to go through with it.
Yep. Yeah,
But
I think I learned about that. I never thought that I was. And when I learned the word ideation, then
yes,
I was like, yeah, that was me. I knew I never would, but I just wanted to go to sleep until I felt better.
yes, same here. Yes. And so I had that suicide ideation and ideologies. And I was like, but I can't do that. So I must do something. And so I
Mm.
wrote a poem called Ugly. I wrote a poem called To-Do List. And I was like, if I post it on social media, and if there's somebody that can relate, another woman, another girl, another teenager, another Latina, anybody, I don't care
Yep.
who you are, anybody, can someone relate? I will stay and we will be friends and I will do will literally do anything to
Yeah.
continue on this community or whatever back then. And so I wrote this poem, and I wrote a poem about being on Instagram, and what social media did to my mental health then too. I posted it, and it really did save my life in a beautiful
Mm.
way. It made me realize that I'm not alone, that there are other people such as yourself who are very much alive. You're in Canada, and it's so cool to know that like I'm not alone.
Yep.
It's so cool to know that there are people who struggle, and there are people who are thriving, and there are people who are working through it, and there are communities that are available. And so poetry really did that for me. Poetry gave me an outlet. And
Yeah.
then I began to audition and feel a little bit better and booking commercials. And then I did voiceover work for mental health things as well. And so it became the coolest thing to me. I was like, poetry is really, really dope. Wow, I love this. And take this and do different things and create different avenues. And so, yeah, bipolar brought me to that. Isn't that
Yeah.
great?
Yeah. Wow. I hear you. That's such a beautiful thing. I remember being so excited because I went to see Rupi Kaur here. And then I saw on your Instagram that you opened for her. And I was like, I knew that she did local people, so I knew you wouldn't be there, but I was like, I felt connected. That was so, so beautiful. What was that like? Was that your
Yeah.
biggest crowd that you've spoken
Well,
word at?
maybe. I think so. Women's Empowerment Expo was pretty big too, but Rupi I mean, that was really cool. She was very sweet. She was so kind. I
Oh,
loved her dress. And she came into the dressing room and like hugged me, hugged my sister, was like, it's so nice to meet you. And she was like, I have nothing but awesome things to say about her. And she was so supportive. I was very nervous. It was in my home state of New Jersey. And,
wow.
luckily my sister was backstage, and it was just dope. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience because despite my nerves and my outfit, oh, Shaylee, I didn't even, like, I really was so nervous that I was
Oh
gonna
my
wear.
gosh, it was so good.
Thank you.
It was
I
such a good outfit.
thank you. My sister helped me with it. I was like, I don't know what to wear. I don't even know what to wear, and to be able to just open for her and have that experience and feel what the audience feels like. There's nothing like live theater. When
It
something
was,
lands, when something doesn't. You can feel people breathing, you can feel them not, you can feel them go, or, oh, it's just the
yes.
best. Oh, I had
Oh,
so
yeah. I could barely breathe when I went because I was just like, I just felt like locked in. Like she wrote them for me, obviously. Right? I just felt so, yeah, that was a really beautiful night and you got to do it. That's so very cool. I would just love if would you be willing to read us something that you've written? I listen to all your things. My recent thing I found on your Instagram is the Freestyle Fridays. Hello. Those are so
Hello.
great. Everyone listening, do not worry. I'm going to put all her social handles and everywhere. And then you need to like run, not walk, and listen to everything. But in the meantime, I would love if you could read us some of your work.
Thank you. Yes, I will. I will read a poem called Dear Me. And I want to give a trigger warning for suicidal ideation. And I'm going to center myself here. Okay. Dear Me, how have you been doing lately? I've seen your posts and you are so inspirational. Was it hard coming out of that closet? For real, you're motivational, representational of what strength is. Because you ask for help and you raise hell when you raise your voice, kid. The truth is, I look up to you. You came from nothing. Look what growing up to a few gifts on Christmas can do. It really humbles you. This performing must create a rush in you. So how do we do it? How do we survive the immense sensitivity? Because for me, I'm losing sensibility. Only thing I believe in for sure is sure death. Death is the only notion I can really connect, especially these days. But I gotta be real, as much as I wanna leave, I'm seriously afraid. I've never done something so bold. I'm bearing a story inside us untold. I thought we could be like Maya, right? Be an actress, leave a beautiful legacy. Instead, I'm really struggling with my identity. It gets worse when I'm alone, but now even in public, intrusive thoughts sneak up on me, tell me that I'm nothing except taking up space for free, and I should pay high taxes for not contributing to society, and there's a variety of reasons why I should cease to breathe, because no one would miss the burdens I place on them heavily. You're never a burden, mija, my mom says relentlessly. There's got to be a place inside her that wishes she didn't have to remind me endlessly, so I have to leave. Yeah, I have to leave. Wait, where is all of this coming from? You were doing so well. You knew where you were wronged. You righted your wrongs. We were all singing your praise songs. What can we do to convince you you're deserving of this life? And if you pay taxes just for breathing, we'll gladly pay them twice or thrice. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Here we go again, Day. Here's when your dysfunctionality sets the stage. You just don't know how to behave. Emotions riding turbulent waves. Guess what? You are a burden. Let's set the record straight. You've never believed in yourself. That's what this is all about in the first place. Why don't you believe in you? Why don't you see what others do? Dear me, you promised yourself you'd wait until today to do the deed. Ma called, she heard something in your voice, and she'll be at your doorstep in a few, and you're not pleased. Gotta think of how you'll do this. You never make promises you don't keep. But today is different. Today, the color green looks extra resilient. The way the sun kisses the trees outside your window, God's work can't be mimicked. God's work can't be mimicked. In my dream last night, I heard an angel say, did you ever feel your suffering was your calling? And do you feel yourself evolving? I told her, all I know is I want to feel the Om in home, feel embodied in my body. She said, your dreams are coming. You asked for them yourself, but greatness awaits for you only when you believe in yourself. She fades away. How can I believe when I keep making the same mistakes? When I look in the mirror, I got to see my tired face. Can't I leave my body for just one day? Feel what it feels to not feel a mistake. Feel what it feels to know the right words to say. When I get like this, in this sink or swim, this flight or flight, this fight for my life, my dreams are the most beautiful thoughts I've never seen. But I know they are somewhere just waiting for me to believe in me. My dreams have been so patient. I know it because of the signs. They tell me I can taste it. Each day I wake up alive. I oscillate between I don't need much to I want everything. But what I really want to know is my words meant something, that my dreams don't only belong to me. There's another girl out there with doubt clouds following her every day, who keeps a smile on with everyone else until she's alone, safely locks it away. Maybe with her, I'll have the right words to say. Will my dreams still be there tomorrow? She asks me. Why do I feel like no one understands me? Why don't I feel at home at my body? I don't play God. I don't save her. I just share my story, do her a favor, give her pen and paper, tell her, write your dreams as if they've happened already. And if I still don't believe, well then, as the years pass, you will become me. Dear me, what if these diary entries became love notes? What if instead death soliloquies, I tried slow growth? What if I governed myself with sweet honey butter utters, a new love constitution? I write love notes on my skin, clear all fear pollution. What if I was not meant to fit in? I was meant to free dive, link arms with my winds. I write love notes all day, on skin, in print, on phone, on whim, on lips. My lips will speak aloud, the ups, the downs of life to live, yet I will find ground each time. I will still live.
Friend, that was so beautiful. I'm crying in the best way. The love on the skin. Oh, that is so, so beautiful. I so appreciate you sharing your life and your heart. And I'm so glad we're alive at the same time.
Me too.
I really am.
I thank you, thank you, thank you. You have love notes on your skin.
Yes, I will carry that with me through the hard days. I really will. I really will. But I just want to thank you for the beauty and the love that you put out in the world. I truly believe that with your work and with your heart and just who you are is saving lives. I really do. Just thank you so much for being here. This was such a light in my day.
Thank you for having me. It means the world to me. I'm so glad that we met and that we're meeting now. And hopefully one day we can meet in person.
That would be amazing. I would love that so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Shaley.
This is Bipolar. Thanks again for tuning in. You can find video versions of This Is Bipolar on our YouTube channel. We also have all our previous episodes of the podcast on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, and Google Play. We spend most of our time on Instagram at this.is.bipolar. There is a vibrant community there where we have conversations and post different ideas and different strategies, and we'd just love for you to join us there. It is so helpful if you enjoy our work or think it would be helpful to someone if you could like and share and save and follow us in all or any of those spaces. If you're a listener for the podcast, if you could leave a review, we would be forever grateful. Again, thank you for being here with us. Let's get the word out. Let's share lived experiences so that we can change the ideas that people have about bipolar and help those of us that live with it feel less alone. This is Bipolar.